Hi Booktube, it's Amy. I'm here for my weekly reads. It's Thursday again and I'm doing this on Thursday, so I may just quit calling this video my Friday reads altogether if I continue this habit of filming on Thursdays instead. It's just a nicer time for me to film because I do have an obligation on Fridays. So I didn't do a whole lot of reading this week, as I've been saying lately, but I did read some different sorts of things. So this little book came in the mail for me a couple of days ago, and I was a little bit confused when I got the package because I didn't think I had any books coming for me. But then I recalled that I did order this a while back. It just took an extraordinary amount of time to get here. So this is just a little Everyman's Library pocket book. Love speaks its name, gay and lesbian love poetry. And so it's just a collection of several well-known poets, and I'm always a fan of Everyman's Library editions. And I actually like it with the dust jacket off, because if I take it off, it's just this cute little purple book with gold and black on the spine, gold on the front. And I did dip into this a little bit last night. I've already put some asterisks in the contents next to poems that I really appreciated. So for instance, we have May Sarton's From the Autumn Sonnets, Elizabeth Bishop's On Art, and there was one more that I particularly liked. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. Amy Levy's At the Dinner Party. So I don't read a lot of poetry, but for some reason, recently I've sort of got into poetry, perhaps because it's something shorter that I can consume in a smaller amount of time. And I guess, you know, my brain does something different when I read it than, say, if I was reading a novel or sitting down to read Life of Johnson. And so I've really been enjoying the experience recently. So this is a great little collection. I don't recall how much I paid for it because I purchased it so long ago. But we've got everyone from Auden to Oscar Wilde to Sappho, and it's organized based on theme. So first you have poems about longing, followed by poems on looking, and I think I like the section on looking most so far. Poems on loving, ecstasy, anxiety, and aftermath. So this is just a cute little collection of assorted poetry. Not something I'm going to read all the way through in one sitting. I sort of like the idea of having something next to my bedside that I can dip into. And then I ended up purchasing a collection of William Wordsworth. So this is the major works of Wordsworth. It includes the Prelude. This is just, you know, your Oxford World Classics edition. And I picked this up because I am listening to on Audible a biography of William Wordsworth, and that's encouraging me to want to return to his poetry. I read him in undergrad, and out of all the romantic poets that I had to read in undergrad, Wordsworth was really the only poet that I actually liked. I recall loving the Prelude and Tintern Abbey. But the biography I'm reading of him right now has inspired me to pick this up and read some of his lesser known work. So for instance, last night I read An Evening Walk, which is dedicated to his sister Dorothy. And I think one of the reasons that Wordsworth appeals to me so much is because he really does sort of paint that picture of nature. And I am very much someone who likes to go out in nature and just to sit and think and see and feel. It's a sensation when you're out in nature. But in addition to buying this, the Wordsworth biography has also inspired me to begin to plan. Now it's on a much different, smaller scale than Wordsworth, but in his youth, when Wordsworth was about 20, he did a walking tour of the Alps with a friend of his. And so he walked, at least according to the biography, he would walk 30 miles a day. They did slow down when they got to France. He actually showed up in France, just in time for the revolution. And they went about 10 miles a day in France. But just this idea of walking. I'm someone who loves to walk, and I've always been a little bit inspired by Simone de Beauvoir's tales of her walking journeys. When she was a young teacher, she used to take her days off, take her Saturdays to go on long walks through the hills on her own. And so I've got in my head with my vacation that's coming up in August to spend most of it walking if I can. We'll see how long my feet hold out. I do like to walk, but I've never sort of pushed myself. I'm sort of stuck in the Ottawa bubble, so I'm not going very far, but I have looked up a number of the hiking and walking trails in the National Capital Region in Ottawa-Gatineau, and there are quite a number of them, and some of them make for between like a 4 and 10 kilometer walk that can certainly be done in a day. Most of them seem to be loops, so you do the loop, you come back to the parking area, and all of them, I can get to by bus or by car or by just heading out on foot. And so that is my tentative plan for my vacation in August. I am going to walk, and I was thinking about vlogging that as well. Making a vlog that's sort of an amalgamation of my walking, what I see as I go on these hikes, and perhaps some quotes and some passages that what I see reminds me of. So we'll see what happens with that. But a little bit inspired by Wordsworth and by Simone de Beauvoir as usual. And then of course I'm still working my way through James Boswell's Life of Johnson. I'm only 300 pages in, about a quarter of the way through almost. Reading through slowly, I'm in no rush. And I have quite been enjoying it. I'm just randomly opening up to this page here. His defensive tea against Mr. Jonas Hanway, violent attack upon that elegant and popular beverage, shows how very well a man of genius can write upon the slightest subject. When he writes, as the Italians say, con amore, I suppose no person ever enjoyed with more relish and infusion of that fragrant leaf than Johnson. The quantities which he drank of it at all hours were so great that his nerves must have been uncommonly strong, not to have been extremely relaxed by such an intemperate use of it. He assured me that he never felt the least inconvenience from it. I can certainly relate to his great quantities of tea drunk. Yeah, I'm enjoying this one. Oh, here's another good quote. The truth, however, is that we judge of the happiness and misery of life differently at different times, according to the state of our changeable frame. So I'm just at about the point in the book where Boswell has met Johnson and they are beginning their friendship. I do admit I find it a little bit cringy how Boswell is treating Johnson, as this great master, almost as though he's sitting at the feet of Jesus or something. That's the vibe I'm getting from his adoration of Johnson. And I can only imagine, Johnson's patience with meeting this young student Boswell, because Boswell says, I complained to him that I had not yet acquired much knowledge and asked his advice on my studies. And so obviously Johnson got something out of the relationship with Boswell, but Boswell comes across a little bit as, needy and someone who is throwing flattery about and absolutely idolizing Johnson. And I don't know, perhaps that's why Johnson liked Boswell so much, because Boswell certainly seems to have fed his ego. So that is what I'm reading at the moment. I did finish another story from Balzac, the Vendetta, that I filmed a video about. Probably going to read a little bit more of Balzac this coming week, and I may post my next Balzac video in the coming days. We shall see. So I hope you're all having a great Thursday, and do let me know in the comments below what you are reading at the moment.